Rising gas prices to inflation to rising interest rates. Money is on the minds of everyone right now. Today we're getting back to the basics and big picture ideas to understand your money. Joining us now with a crash course in Money 101, you could call it, is Senior Wealth Advisor Brad White. Brad, welcome to the Four again today.
Happy to be here as always.
All right, people are really closely watching their money. Everything, prices are going up. You like to say that investments work in percentages, but life works in dollars. Kind of explain to our viewers what you mean by that.
Yeah, this has become one of my favorite phrases, one of my favorite teaching tools, because in my opinion, sometimes we get so caught up on what's going on today or which fund to pick and things like that. If you don't understand the basics of how your money works, it's like only concentrating on the tile of your kitchen without even having the foundation of your house built. So again, let's teach these foundational principles. It's going to help you smarter with how you make all sorts of money decisions. So let's say, just pick any investment in the world. Let's say it's a stock. If that stock makes, let's say 10%, it's going to do that whether you put $1 million in it or $1,000 in it. Investments work in percentages, but 10% on $1 million means you earned $100,000, where 10% on 1,000 means, right, you'd only earn $100. So why this is so crucial is it's going to apply into a couple areas. One, this actually helps you understand how much money you need to save for things like retirement in order for you to understand how much money you're going to be able to live off of someday, right? If you said, hey, I want to pull $2,000 a month out of my accounts, that's what I'm going to need for retirement. I need to live off that. Well, if you can earn 5% of your money, that means you need $500,000 saved up, right? 500,000 at 5%. That's how you're going to generate enough money to live off of. A lot of times people get shocked and sticker shock sometimes of what they hear of how much they need to save someday in order to live off what they want to. So just really understand kind of this concept of the investment percentages equating to dollar amounts that you need to live off of. It tells you other decisions like whether to take Social Security early or late. Sometimes people say, well, Brad, Social Security grows at 8% per year if I don't take it right away. So I'll just let that grow and pull from my investments instead. Yeah, but if it's 8% on a $2,000 a month Social Security payment versus making 4% on a $500,000 portfolio, guess what? Even making 4% on that bigger portfolio is actually better for you than something like 8% on Social Security. The last thing I want to point out is this helps explain people's bad emotional investment decisions, because let's say that you had $10,000 in the market when you were 30 years old, and the market went down 30%. You lost $3,000. You probably didn't panic. But if you get to retirement age and you have $500,000 and the market goes down 30%, this time you see a $150,000 loss in your statement, and all of a sudden you freak out a lot more, even though it's really the same ride you've been on the whole time. So you've got to just keep things relative, right, in your portfolio and really understand that phrase and just remember that going forward.
And because of that, you do have to make different investment choices as you get closer to retirement. You can't be as risky.
Ideally, no. Yeah, because again, if you're going to live off of your money, you just can't afford to have 100% of it in stocks going down. Because again, if you lose too much money at the start of your retirement, this same rule that I just gave you applies, right? Because now if you started with 500,000 just to keep using that number, and all of a sudden you spend or lose a bunch of money and you're down to 100,000, and you're still trying to pull $2,000 a month out of your account, that means you need to earn 24% just to break even every year. And basically what that means is once that portfolio dips too low at the start of retirement, it doesn't matter what investment returns you get, because the pool of money is small enough, no investment returns are going to help you make up for that stuff anymore.
There's a lot of math involved. Everyone's situation is different, as far as how much they're able to set aside versus having to pay for everyday items. Let's talk about, you said freaking out. Let's talk about not freaking out right now. The market has been so volatile over the last couple of years, and it's probably best for people not to watch things too closely or, kind of have a heart attack every time they see numbers dip and not get too excited when they see numbers rise.
Yeah, again, we've talked about this a lot. This kind of goes back to the keeping things relative in your portfolio. Try not to quote dollar amounts, okay? Because like sometimes people say, hey, Brad, I lost 10,000 in my account, again, freaking out. Well, let's talk about this. Let's say you had 200,000 in your account to start with. That's a 5% loss. If the overall market went down 10%, your portfolio did a good job, right? So again, keeping things relative there is important, just understanding what your money's doing. But also to your point, unless you're a professional trader, so like 1% of you at most, the other 99% of you really should think of terms of 5, 10, and 20 years with your investments, which means nothing that happens today, tomorrow, next week, next month should cause you to make drastic changes in your portfolio. There's always a lot of noise, sometimes harder than others, certainly right now. To turn that off and realize that over the next 10 years, by not making these emotional decisions, you'll be better off.
Such great advice. Thank you so much, Brad. I appreciate your insight and always having the, the sound logic so that people can make wise decisions with their money. Appreciate you joining us today.
My pleasure.